Well, hello there, everyone. I am Dr. Carla Kateria, and I'm here to speak today as the CEO and founder of Inner Compass Coaching. I coach teens, I coach families, I coach parents, I coach preteens, anything in the realm of preteen to college. And I'm here today to talk about how we can break bad habits, but also build healthy routines. So, all the habits we have may not be the most positive, but how can we take what we are already doing, make adjustments, and then build healthy routines? So, that's what we're going to discuss tonight. If you are interested, the Inner Compass journey looks like this. So I provide a lot of valuable free content on my social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I have a free Facebook group where I'm building a community of like-minded parents where I share a lot of valuable information about teenagers, about preteens, about building your relationships with your teenagers, about confidence, about mindset. And I also have a YouTube page where I store most of my videos where you can find a lot of content. So follow me, friend me, be a part of the group. It's super important to have you there in the space where you can meet other parents such as yourself. If you're not a parent, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're an uncle, an aunt, a stepmom, a grandpa, whatever it might be, but some connection to our youth. We're finding that a lot of parents are connecting with me with 9, 10-year olds, 8-year olds. So we aren't shy to the fact of let's starting early with shifting our mindset. So that's super important as well for everyone to know. The next step would be an exploration call. So if you follow me for a while, if I have a lot of free things that I hand out. PDFs and documents and journals and things like that that you can share with your teens and you really like what you see, then book a call with me. It's 15 minutes. It is basically just to get to know one another and to see if we're a good fit. If we kind of have a discussion and one of us thinks, well, this might not work, or maybe now's the right not the right time, so be it. We just had a conversation. And if the reverse is true and we're really excited that we've met one another, we think that we will work really well together, then we move into potentially working together one-on-one. I have various packages that I work with families, group packages, individual, that we can discuss, and then potentially working together one-on-one. So that is the pathway. If you are to join the Inner Compass world, that's the journey. Um, so a little bit about me. I was a teacher for many years. I taught seventh grade middle school geography. I became an assistant principal, and then I became a high school assistant principal. So I've spent the vast majority of my adult life working with middle school and high school students. In addition to that, I'm also a college professor. So I have about 10 plus years working with college students. So I have a large amount of experience. And as you know, when you're working with students, you're working with families and parents. So I have a lot of experience on handling situations with parents and working together on things, working in the best interest of the teenager. And I also have a lot of experience working with adults outside of just being parents, teachers, and so on and so forth. So my experience was the reason I really decided to start Inner Compass was I had all these positions in education. Everything was going well. I'm a good person. I have good rapport with families. I have good rapport with students. I assist them with their academics. I get them motivated. I, get them to come to school and so on and so forth. We have a good relationship, but I often saw that many students were coming to my office or in my classroom and they would have the same issues over and over again, and they would either make bad decisions, or make the best decision they could at the time but it wasn't a good decision, not hang around with the best group of people, continuously, maybe let's just say for example late to school, so having bad habits, or not necessarily having any kind of negatives in their life, but they would could repeat the same habits over and over again. And there was actually like this developmental gap, this emotional gap, this thing I couldn't ever spend enough time working with them on, excuse me. So it was something that I would really always try to get at, but there's a lot of things that you're responsible for in a day as a teacher or a professor and as assistant principal, and you couldn't really dig down to those issues. So this is what prompted me to start coaching teenagers, so that they would, break the cycle of the certain habits that they had, or work on their time management and be able to master that, potentially build stronger relationships with peers or with family members. So, and the list goes on. So the reason I started coaching was I started joining masterminds. I started hiring coaches myself. And I was like, wait a minute, this is amazing. And little did I realize that I had coaches throughout my life, like sport coaches or people I worked with in schools that ran clubs and things like that. So even as a teenager, and I was like, wait a minute, I've had a lot of positive influences in my life that, that were mentors. And now hold on a minute, this is something that I do every day. Why can't I do this and reach out and help more families? So I started this journey within myself. And this journey, it was something I really was like, oh, I want to share this journey with others and I want to help families, but I also want to bring teens and families along with me on this journey. This is amazing. So as you know, if you're in my world, I assume that maybe I'm not your first coach. Maybe you have a math tutor, maybe you have a soccer coach, maybe you have a therapist, and you have me as a coach. So it's totally awesome. And that's great, because the more support you can get, and the different kinds of support that you can get as a teenager is only going to make you that much stronger of an adult. So the goal here is to really shift your mindset, to work on that growth mindset, to strengthen your emotionality, build that strong resiliency, and to be able to really overcome challenges in a better way each time you come across them. So if you aren't, as a teenager, able to emotionally handle something on day one with me, hopefully by our second meeting, third meeting, fourth meeting, you're making small adjustments and you're growing and you're tweaking, and we work together for whatever period of time it might be. And then you've strengthened your emotional resiliency to the point of, if an obstacle comes your way, you're able to handle it. So that is part of what I do when I work with teens. So to get into what we're going to speak about tonight, habits versus routines. So habits are automatic behaviors we do regularly. Sometimes we don't even think about them. They're just ingrained patterns of behavior. This might be something like brushing our teeth, taking a shower, grabbing our clothes in the morning, making a shake, grabbing the keys to the car, whatever it is. You place them in the same place, you grab it, it's a habit. And if somebody moves it, oh no, what are you going to do? So it might just be something, it's the small things that we don't even pay any mind to, that we don't even actually recognize. Routines are series of actions or like activities that we do in a particular order, not always, but often we do them in a particular order. And they are actually strung together in a certain way for a reason. It kind of works with our brain. Like we wouldn't, put our socks and shoes on and then go into the shower. Obviously, there's a certain way we align our routines. So it could be something as, exercising, specifically like how you get dressed, when you go, what you bring with you, what you drink, how do you cool down? How do you, do you go in a cold plunge afterwards, whatever it might be. So those are routines that happen in a specific order. So what I would like you to think about and just reflect upon this, and if you're watching this as a replay, pause right now and, think about this question. Maybe you want to write about it. Maybe you're a journaler. If you're watching this live, I'll give you a few seconds to listen and to think, excuse me. So what habit of your teenager is it that currently triggers you the most? So is there something that they do on a regular basis that they may not even be consciously aware of, or it's that thing that you always have to nag them about? What is that thing? So think of that thing. It might even be the most annoying thing to you. It's just a certain habit that really kind of like every time they say it or they do it, it just gets you. And then what feeling do you have when this occurs? So think about what it actually triggers within you. Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it jealousy is, what is it that it triggers in you that you are just like, I just can't. So think about that for a minute. Pause the video if you're watching right now, if you'd like to take a moment to write about this, but think about that, because a lot of times, what triggers us is something that when we do become triggered, something we need to think about ourselves and go, wait a minute, what is it that I'm feeling? Okay, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z right now. Why am I feeling this? And reflect upon that. And then when we reflect upon that, we go, hold on, now can I handle this in a different way? Must this trigger me? Can I communicate to them something about this behavior that either they can change, or honestly, is there something I can change about the reaction that I have to this behavior? And then you're really looking at it and you're now in control of the situation versus being reactive and it triggering you and then you spiraling and yelling at them or getting angry. Well, the reverse could happen. You can say, wait a minute, is this really that big of a deal? And sometimes it's not that big of a deal. And you can say, man, I've been overreacting about this. Maybe I need to apologize the way I've been acting. Maybe I just need to stop acting that way. Or maybe it is kind of a big deal and I need to have a conversation with them because it's triggering me and I need to handle my emotions with that. But then it's triggering me for a reason. And I feel like they're engaging in unsafe behavior or it's something that breaks the house rules, something like that. So are your daily habits toxic to your brain's health? So there's certain habits that we have that are super healthy and we want to keep doing them every day. Obviously, and I'm using the basics, brushing our teeth, taking a shower, eating healthy, so all of these things can really be healthy habits. If you take a look at something you might think, for all of us that have jobs, we multitask. Well, I can do this, I can do that. And honestly, that's actually not helpful to your brain. It's actually harmful. It's better to prioritize, do a few things really well, and then when you have time, do the other things that are not that important. This can be said for teens with their homework. This can be said for people in their careers. So something that we think of that, oh, is really good, it honestly isn't that good. Being tied to technology, we can obviously say, many studies show that teens spend more than 7 hours a day on their screens. Super unhealthy. A habit, you just go right to the phone, you start scrolling. Uh, Parents, on the other hand, are actually doing a lot of the similar behaviors. I've spent time in some other master classes speaking about that as well. So I won't dig deep into that, but just as examples. And as we know, the more teens are on their phones, the less active they are. And we have 14% of teens in our country right now classified as obese. 15% of teens get 8.5 to 9.5 hours of sleep, meaning the majority of teens do not get enough sleep. So also 24% of teens get 1 hour of physical activity daily. So there's things that we want to do cognitively that are helpful for our brains, such as prioritizing, being creative, being innovative, problem solving. But then there's also things that we want to do with the rest of our body that has to do with activity. So those are really some helpful things that we can do and some helpful routines that we can build. So we might have the habit of scrolling on technology, but how do we then do less of that? Because having some phone time is okay, but how do we do less of that and do more to trigger our body to then change our brain? So what activities can you get your teen to engage in that are so awesome to them that they don't even feel like they realize they pick up their phone? Because I know for myself, there's some activities that I force myself to do at the gym and things like that. And I'm always picking up my phone because I'm not really into it. There's other activities I do that I could leave it for a day and I wouldn't even notice the difference because I'm really engaged in that. That's really the goal, is to get teens in the habit so they're habitually doing these things and they become a routine. Yes. So we have addiction and the teenage brain. So this specific slide I pulled has to do with addiction, drug addiction. But we can talk about vaping. We can talk about addiction to technology, video games. Honestly, those aren't the only addictions. We can talk about addiction to food, anything that kind of comforts us, numbs us, and doesn't have us really address our emotions. So teens a lot of times are vaping. Yeah, the reasons are they think it's cool, someone shared it with them. There's all these reasons, but truly, there's something beneath that. What is it that the reason is that they are vaping? What is it that they're feeling? What is it that they're thinking that they are numbing themselves from? And and how can we break this habit? How can we support them in breaking this habit? And yes, we need to take it away from them, but it's not as easy as just taking it away because they're going to get it somewhere else. So what we really want to do is break that habit and build healthier routines to replace them. So, what is it that will motivate your teen intrinsically? And I mean, even if it's extrinsically at the beginning, because they're not at that point yet, but what can we do to motivate them to do positive things for their brain so that they then drop the negative things and don't even realize that they wanted or needed them? So it's kind of like an example I think of, where I really don't eat a lot of sugar or a lot of carbs. I'm not perfect with it, but I would say I'm at, probably 85% or so of the time I stick to that. And I eat a bunch of fruit. That's what I eat for sweets. And the other day I went and I had a bunch of Reese's Pieces, which I technically really love those, but I don't eat them. And I hadn't eaten them in, I would say, like, I don't know, a year or so. And I ate them and I just ate them to eat them, but they really didn't taste good to me. It just, it tasted fake, like it wasn't real food, because it really isn't real food. So the fact that I had been at one point addicted to Reese's Pieces and now had replaced that with fruit, I didn't even want to go back to the old thing. So that doesn't happen overnight. That takes a lot of time and energy, one, for the teen to be committed to that. And how do you get them to want to do that? So a lot of teens that I work with, it's first just getting to the point for one, they'll trust to share with you and to share with me. So a lot of times parents asking less questions and listening more is a huge thing that you can do with your teen. Um, not, not saying, why did you do X, Y, and Z? Don't ever use that word why. What were you thinking at the time that you blah, 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 blah? And doing that in a moment when you're very grounded and they're very grounded. So one, it's really addressing the situation and really gaining their trust. And if you have that really trusting relationship with your teens, that's wonderful. Oftentimes when I meet with teens, it may take a session or two. They might not just open up automatically, but they oftentimes do get to the point of, and they know they don't want to be vaping, let's say, for example. But one, they might be addicted. Two, it's the friends they hang out with and they would look stupid if they didn't. There's a lot of those types of reasons. And then we work on really, okay, so what is it you're feeling right before you vape? Is it that you're just doing it out of habit and you grab it all the time? Is there a certain anxious emotion that you're having? Is it because you're in such and such a class? Is it because your mom says this? Is it, what is the pattern that keeps occurring prior to you deciding to vape? And then let's just say it's my mom yells at me for something and then I get stressed and then I go up to my room and I vape. So what is it that she's yelling about, and why is it triggering you? What is the reason it's triggering you? And then how can you address this as a family? So it might not be that it's only mom's fault, but what it is that this teen is having this experience. They need to share this experience. The parent needs to hear this, and then together can they adjust their behaviors to then prompt less anxiety within the household. Just because we do that doesn't mean that vaping immediately stops, but we've at least gotten to the root of the problem. Then what we need to do is find, okay, wait a minute. Now that I know what's going on, how do I make a new decision? So my mindset needs to shift. It needs to shift from I vape to I'm healthy. Literally, you can say all different kinds of affirmations. We don't have to get into that now, but it's basically shifting your mind from being an identity of I'm a teenager that vapes, and shifting that identity to I'm a healthy teenager. And then what you need to do is you really need to dig down and come up with reasons why you are a healthy teenager. So I'll work with teens and we'll come up with a bunch of reasons why. And then every day we got to, one, take action and stop vaping. Two, recognize our patterns, because if we do break that, and a lot of times we're not going to do that cold turkey, but then if they do vape, they have to reflect again. Wait a minute, why did I do that? Three, like ingrain these new decisions in their head every single day. And it takes a commitment. It takes a lot of work. but it does work. And then then the teens will get to the point where they don't even want to do it anymore. They're like, I don't even know why I did it in the first place. So that's the long and short of it. And it's not easy, but it's very doable. And it just depends on how open your teen is to stopping whatever habit it is, and what are they committed. And if they're at least a little bit open to it and at least a little committed, we can work with that. If they're very open to it and they're very committed, that is ideal. So that is what I would say about addiction. And my next question would be for parents, what would this mean to you? So what would it mean to you if we can go through something like I just explained there, with the support of a coach? What would it mean for you to have a teen that was once addicted to technology, or once was addicted to vapes, or was addicted to drama with their friends, whatever it might be, some negative habit that just continued in their life and then spilled over to your relationship with them. Now in the relationship is strained, there's arguing, there's, fighting over this thing. What would it mean for you for that to stop? What would it mean for them to, one, have healthy habits and replace their, poor habits with wonderful routines? What would that mean to you as a parent for them to be able to experience a life without addictions to technology, addictions to social media? Really think about what that would mean to you. What would that look like? And basically envision your life. I would strongly suggest taking 10 minutes a day. Lay in bed, sit on the couch, whatever it is, go for a walk and think, just visualize what you see your life looking like in, let's say, 3 months from now. So a lot of times I do visualization activities with families because they're so wrapped up in what's happening right now, the arguing or the disrespect or whatever might be happening that's causing angst in the relationship. But what we really need to do is focus on their future selves. And in focusing on their future selves, they really realize, oh my gosh, this is how good it could be. And a lot of times parents will hire me because they need support in making this vision a reality. And with what coaches really do is we hold people accountable. So what we're there for is to reinforce the habits, the routines that you are shifting from negative to positive, and helping you to support you to become a full member of your new family, of this new identity. And I got ahead of myself there. Envision what your future self would do. So at this point, if you see your teen doing a specific behavior and right away you react to it, and then it starts a conflict, and now you guys aren't speaking, and maybe someone gets grounded, so on and so forth, what would your future self do? So as you reflect and speak, some of the things we were speaking about, what would your future self do in that same situation, 3 months from now? Maybe you wouldn't react. Maybe you would take a deep breath. Maybe you would go for a walk and talk to them later. So whatever kind of supports you put in place, what would that look like? You wouldn't look like a raging maniac. You would, potentially still have the same emotion, but be able to carry and handle it much more appropriately and stop there from being a conflict proactively versus engaging fully in that conflict. So as a family, what solid routines do you already have in place? So think about this, because we're focusing on, negative habits, and those do happen throughout families. Parents have negative habits. I have negative habits. Teens do. Everybody has them. But really, those are things you want to adjust. But also think, what do we already have in place that's really positive? Do we go to the gym together? Do we go for walks? Is there, do we like to go look at art? Are we out on the soccer field and then we go to barbecue after? I don't know, whatever it is, there's really healthy things that you do in your life. And yes, we want to break the negative habits, but we could also look at it as, what is one healthy habit that can be added to our already positive routines? So you might have some positive routines in place that you don't even realize that are in place. What can you add to that? What is it that with the support of a coach that you can really strengthen those routines and within your family to bring each other really closer to one another and support one another. So routines are very important. So if teens are engaging in routines, this is some really strong data. If they're exercising a growth mindset, they're 60% more likely to exhibit academic success. So every time your teen says, "I'm not good at science. I don't know how to read this passage," or "I can't blah blah blah." Any negative self-talk right there is going to put them in that 40%, not the 60%. So a lot of times what we'll do is when teens say, "I'm not good at science," you go, "Yes, you are." No, no, I'm not. "Yes, you are." That's not going to work. So how do we get them to shift their mindset to truly believe that they are good at science? Then that's something I work on a lot with teenagers. If they're connected to mental health resources, such as therapists and coaches, and a lot of parents will say, "Well, we already have a therapist." That's really awesome, but do you have a coach? Because if you think about it, every sports team you see out there, soccer, basketball, football, golf, whatever it is, everybody's got a coach. Even golf, they got their caddies. So do you see Michael Jordan out there running around when he was playing without a coach? What best of the best? They have a coach. So I coach teens, but I still have multiple coaches right now of my own. It's for personal growth. It's to thrive. I can always be better, do better. And it's not about the expectations and being a perfectionist. It's about, really wanting to become the best person I can be so that I can be the best coach I can be. Just like wanting to have your teens become the best teens they can be so they can take these habits and routines, these positive shifts that they made, and carry them into their adult life. Engaging in coping strategies. They're 2 times as likely as teens to overcome challenging situations. So again, speaking of emotional resiliency, are they going to crumble under pressure every time there's, a problem and then you come in and swoop in and save them? Or are you going to let them, in most cases, handle it themselves? And they can handle it. Can they go and speak to the teacher that didn't put the assignment in an appropriate way? Can they handle a situation that happens to them, after school at a club activity, and the list goes on. So instead of always handling it for them, and then when they get out into the real world, they don't know how to handle anything, how can they overcome challenging situations with support from you, but not with you taking it over, having them have some sense of autonomy. So building rock star routines. So when helping teenagers, it's important to tailor, what we do with teens to specifically what is going to work uniquely for them. So if you want to build like external motivation to begin with helping your teens with their routines, and you pick something that they don't even want to work for, it's pointless. So when I'm working with a family and I'm working with teens, every single teen that I work with is going to have an individualized plan that we're going to have. And that goes the same thing for their routines. Every kid's routine isn't going to look the same. Some kids will, get up and run in the morning. Some kids will, sleep till the last minute, but then, we got to get them to get into some sort of routine that isn't necessarily, running every morning, but it might be something smaller, like taking a little walk, or as an example, so, and then working on getting up earlier and earlier and earlier, little by little, to make sure that they're on time. So it depends on what's developmentally right for them, what they can handle, but it's specifically for them. And it specifically aligns with their values, and their values align with your values. So a lot of parents will hire me for that very reason. It's the values. I'm going to be saying the very same things you are, and very similar things, and pushing your teens to, live to the best of their ability, but also, and having high expectations for them, but also I'm not with them 24/7, and it's coming from a different source. So really having us be aligned on our values is the key. So also what you want to do is encourage self-reflection. So a lot of times, teens with a little bit of prompting, what I coach them through is actually catching their own patterns and realizing what they're doing. Sometimes they're just, again, just doing it. So some teens are complaining. You're always complaining. Well, hold on. We have to stop them in their tracks and really get them to see what's happening. Um, then they really gain this sense of responsibility. They feel empowered when they actually aren't just caught up in that habit, and that they actually create a positive, routine for themselves of catching. They catch it right away. They catch that pattern that they're falling into, and they're able to, at first, maybe just shift out of that mindset for a couple of seconds. Then it's a minute, then it's two, then they don't even get into that old mindset anymore, and it disappears, and they're a completely, they have that completely new identity. We want to celebrate small wins. So whatever it might be, a little thing as doing your routine for 1 week, a little thing as doing, reaching a small goal. So it's always good to celebrate small wins, way better than it is to focus on the negative. Setting realistic expectations as well. So maybe at the beginning, it's setting, it's creating routines that are small, like 3 things you do when you get home from school. And it might be, they need a break. So maybe it's something small, for example, let's say they had a sporting event after school, they come home, they have a whole bunch of homework, but maybe they have a window of time where they, take 15 minutes and they do whatever it might be. It could specific to your teen. Maybe they take a few minutes and listen to music, maybe they take a little nap. Maybe they cook in the kitchens, do something different with their hands, something that, is kind of calming and breaks up the routine of school and activities and homework and all of that. And then they celebrate that like, and little by little, it kind of takes them from a high anxiety state, and it brings them down to calm. And all of this is great. But consistency really, really matters. So you don't have to do the same routine every day. I do not do the same routine every day, but I do a similar routine every day. Someone, for example, like me, I do not want to go on a treadmill and run every single day. I don't really want to go treadmill at all. But if you said one day you can run outside, one day you're going to be on the trampoline, one day you're going to take a walk, one day you're going to do jumping jacks, one day you're going to do, some, that to me, that appeals to me. And that's all a good part of a morning routine. So this is really, really important. And we need to be flexible. So if a teen has set a routine and they have, 3 activities they do after school, and let's say on Thursday they didn't do that, well, that's fine. So we need to set a realistic goal that 3 out of the 5 days you're going to do the routine. 4 out of the 5 days, because it's the first day that they don't do it, and then they start feeling bad about themselves, and then they don't do it anymore. So it's really good to get in the routine of doing it, let's say 3 out of 5 days, and then little by little, it just becomes their routine every day. So this kind of brings us to this question of, what level of independence do you think your teen is ready for? And a lot of times we think they're ready for pretty much no independence. We don't trust them, or really what we're saying is we might not trust ourselves. So what level, that's why I put this there, are you ready for? So a lot of times it's hard to let go. It's really hard to let go. We want to feel needed and wanted, and we've been taking care of this human being since they were a baby, and they can't live without me. And what if those are all valid thoughts, but is it healthy for you, and is it healthy for them? So they need to build their own routines. They need to shift their own mindset and shift their own habits. That doesn't mean you can't be there for support, but do you need to let go a little bit? Do you need to help them, by letting go, build their own independence? And you might not be ready for it. And a lot of times parents will hire me to coach them through what's occurring, whether their teen is, going from 8th grade to 9th grade, they're going through a transition. There's, a big event that's happening with them, and they need support through that. So when encouraging independence, it's really crucial for their development. We really need to provide choices for them, and structured choices. So independence doesn't mean that they can just do whatever they want. But teens are always looking for more independence. It's just the time of their life they're in. It's the way their brain works. And if we continue to not let them have any independence whatsoever, then when they, after, let's say they go from high school to college, and then they're on their own, and they shift, and they do crazy things. So we want to provide them structured choices and independence to a certain extent, so that when they do move on to college or do go out into the real world, that they have some sort of balance, and they can make sure that they, know when enough is enough. Um, Shifting to guiding from the sidelines, as opposed to being like right in top of it all. Guiding from the sidelines, letting them take action, letting them have natural consequences, and then having them have accountability for it. So the more accountability and natural consequences they have, it really becomes their responsibility, and they become more independent. And we need to allow them to problem solve, have them try to figure it out, have them, if they haven't figured out, have them bring you 3 solutions to the problem, and then you talk about it together, but have them still first try it on their own. So I talked about this a little bit before, but I've outlined this. So first, it's determining what habit you want to change. Second, what do you want to replace it with? Third, so you want to make sure that you track and reflect upon your patterns. And then you want to connect to new habits, recognize those patterns and how you can break those patterns. And then lastly, reflect and then adjust accordingly. And then really be flexible with yourself and be consistent with yourself. And as you go through this process, you drop habit after habit, you work on one at a time. And then before you know it, you've changed numerous habits, and now you have shifted into numerous positive routines. So just to sum it up here with our collective, the Inner Compass coaching, these are 6 of the main pillars that we believe in, that we work on with teens. And really, the 3: communication, confidence, and community, that those are the basis of what we work on, and the mindset shifts that we create in those 3 areas. And with that breeds authentic identity, personal power, and healthy relationships of teens. So as we work on better communication, as we work on building their confidence, and as we work on having them out in the community, sharing with others and building up their community, they then form healthy relationships, and they become more powerful, and then they become more of their authentic selves. So if you've liked what you've heard and you are interested to learn more, we have a free Facebook group where I would love everyone to join. This is a community that brings a lot of value. We are building a community of like-minded parents, as I stated earlier, and we would love to have you as a part of it. If you feel so inclined that you've said, this is an amazing presentation, I really connect with this person, right away, you can go right onto my Facebook, you can message me, you can DM me, and you can set up a call right off the bat, and we can just get to know each other a little bit better. So I hope you loved what you heard tonight. I am happy to be here with you. And if you are watching this on the replay, definitely comment on it. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you would like to hear next time. Thank you.